Hello, everybody. Welcome yet again. Another edition of 18 Minutes with 180 Markets. Friends, we're here today to talk about capital management. That's right. We all know about capital management in our businesses. But do you know the most important aspect of capital management? It's human capital management. That's right. The people that we interact with all the time, that is the keg that makes everything go. Here is a little fun fact for you, and it'll tie into our guest today. In around 1950, two countries, Jamaica and Singapore, both had about $2,500 per capita income. Jamaica, though, had far better natural resources and a far better geography. Fast forward to today, about 70 years later, Singapore has gone from about $2,500 to $95,000 per capita income. Jamaica, they've only gone to about $9,000, a tenfold increase. And why is that? Because of human capital. And with us today to talk about managing that human capital, the workforce, is Mark Samlal of Paygroup. Enough with me. Mark, welcome to 18 Minutes with 180 Markets.
Greg, thank you very much for having us and for that excellent introduction to the power and benefit of people and capital together.
Absolutely. Hey, Mark, everyone's got a story. How did you get in a couple of minutes to where you are today?
Thank you, Greg. So essentially, I've got a long-term background in payroll software and outsourcing and human capital management software. In fact, the world's Goliath, $60 billion company is automatic data processing, or ADP. And I was lucky enough to sell my Australian company to ADP in the very early 2000s. So I've had a 25-year history in payroll outsourcing, and human capital management. And that led me to start what was the first business, PayAsia of Paygroup, out of that tiny red dot, Singapore, some 14 years ago.
Incredible, incredible. And can you just talk to us, because some of our audience may not be so familiar with ADP, which is the juggernaut. How has that affected your history in the business, and what did you see, I suppose, as the opportunity?
ADP are a fine company and give tremendous shareholder value for a very long period of time. But the world has moved exponentially around technology and speed to market. So what I learned from my many years at ADP, and also with the ADP colleagues that have left ADP and joined us at Paygroup, is that the key consideration for multinational companies in Asia is that they don't have 50 or 60,000 employees like they may do in the US or they may do in Europe across 35 countries that we cover in Asia and the Middle East. So what we needed to do is to give them an ADP solution, both from a technology perspective and a deployment perspective and an account management perspective, but compressed from a cost perspective and also from an implementation time frame. So we tend to go live with our repetitive revenue contracts in about 4 to 6 weeks in our PayAsia business, which is the first one we listed as Paygroup 2 and a bit years ago.
Right, so that's incredible. So just so I'm hearing it correctly, so you can onboard clients in as little as 4 to 6 weeks, whereas I would normally say that could take a year, potentially, of a lot of conversations backing and forthing.
Greg, you're absolutely right. And it's because the technology that we've developed is designed in the cloud to be deployed in weeks, if not months. And certainly it's not underpinned by many of the large ERP style of software technologies, which is a level of chronic fatigue syndrome around those and deploying them on a basis that is regional, even though you may only have 10 people in Vietnam and you're originally headquartered in Singapore with 300 or 5 people in Bangladesh. We give that single experience to our clients' employees, just like if they were with one of the world's Goliaths in terms of software development, software deployment, and also outsourcing services. So it's a complete hire to retire mentality from what we're looking to deliver.
Right. And can you just talk about technology? We all know has moved so quickly. I'd say I'm just curious, in the last 5 years or maybe even 10 years, what have been the biggest changes from a technology point of view in workforce management?
Look, in the last 5 years, it would have to be analytics. The analytics that are now capable to be driven from technologies such as pay groups are far beyond what they were 5 years ago, let alone 10 years ago. And so that's getting the pulse and the understanding of what's happening with your employees across the whole region, and to make sure that those employees are heard through the technology, and that the finance organisation understands the dynamic trends that may be happening within HR, whether it be in the time and attendance or the rostering side, or the why is it my 3 to 4 year experienced people in Singapore or Australia are resigning en masse? What is the trend? What's in Alice? So those analytics are ones that we need to bring to our customers. In addition to that, the other big driver has been how we've been able to work with banking infrastructure, our own bank accounts, to be able to understand and conceptualize for our customers and provide them a service to be able to move their payroll funds or their equivalent of superannuation across 35 countries without them actually having a banking presence. So that treasury element, as well as analytics, have been the big movers in technology in the last 5 years, Greg.
That's amazing, Mark. And, if we think about it, those functions you just described about moving funds to superannuation or whatever, let's be honest, nobody likes doing that. As an employer or an employee, it just creates pain is the word. And that's what you're trying to solve for, I suppose.
It is pain. It's all about our multinational clients, whether they be corporations or workforce management companies, recruitment companies, being accurately paid on time, delivering the funds seamlessly to wherever they may be, giving them that analytical overlay, which I've just described.
Right. So this is the business Paygroup. It's not just about anymore making sure every Friday, fortnightly, the paycheck comes into the bank account. We are way past those days. Is that accurate?
Oh, well, you mentioned, absolutely, it's accurate. And you mentioned earlier about the cost of human capital. And when you look at, any organization, sorry to be so blunt about this, it's rental people. So when you're really thinking people execute on strategy, people create the relationship with your customer, people give you your brand. It's not the rent that you're paying that gives you those things, although that can provide you image, don't dispute with that. It's all about the people. So if the people are engaged, if they're paid well, if they've got the tools to operate, and those tools in Asia Pac and Middle East are somewhat similar to what they're experiencing in America, or whether it be in Europe, we're giving equivalency of those types of solutions. But definitely it's all about people and understanding how to manage them smarter, faster, better.
Yeah, and also I suppose drilling into Paygroup more specifically, it's easy to understand how a Telstra or a Commonwealth Bank, thousands and thousands of people would have armies of people just to help out and to do all these things. Your customer base is highly fragmented on a positive basis. I believe no one customer is more than 5% of your business.
Correct.
How do you keep you offer these seemingly high-end tools to what I'd call small business? I don't know if that's the way you describe it, but the small business person, so to speak.
So everybody can go and look at our investor presentations and see the brands that we actually, and the companies that we actually support, are all the top end names and customers. Appen, listed on the Australian Stock Exchange, is a very high profile public case study that we have, Greg. However, they spend their money to create their brand in their home country, and then by natural wanting and desire to be successful, move out. And when they move out, they typically land in Singapore or Hong Kong, or maybe in New York for their first expansion. And we designed PayAsia from the start with that in mind. How can we give them an ADP style of experience, whether it be one person or 1,000 people in up to 10 or 12 countries as they decided to move out. So one of our major banks lands in Singapore, major Australian banks, lands in Singapore, has one person, they win banking markets, they win institutional banking licenses, and our customers become our best salespeople because they're expanding into new markets, and then we create the opportunity for them to have a unique employee experience across those markets.
Yeah, and I suppose where your technology really comes into play is that you can take that company, as you said, from Australia. They say, Mark, we're moving to Vietnam, but we need to pay people. We need to manage them. How do we do that? Easier said than done, but that's where you step in.
Absolutely. And they have a mandate to expand because we're dealing with our corporate companies, mostly out of our Singaporean headquarters, selling to international headquarters of their organisations. So we tend to sell a regional deal and then we expand out. That's exactly the process of what happens. And whether it's the state government of Victoria, who is the largest employer of people outside of Australia and government, besides the federal government, expanding, or whether it's a commercial enterprise with 3 people, we're there to assist them because they all have got a growth mentality when they arrive. Yep. On the other side of our business, which is the business we acquired last November, Astute digitises the back end of workforce management companies, or sometimes known as recruitment companies for contractors. So we provide the SaaS platform for those companies to fully digitise their back end. That was for Australia. Now we've expanded into New Zealand, and our customers there are organisations such as Bedison and the like. And as they have requirements to move into Southeast Asia, that's when we'll apply our hallmark DNA from Southeast Asia for that technology as well, and allow those customers out of Australia and New Zealand to utilise our digitisation services for them further. So it's really all about making the payroll, onboarding, payment, HCM unique for both sets of corporate employees and contractors, a fantastic experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's as I said, like really taking what was formerly a problem and making it almost I don't know if you call it sexy is the right word, but interesting. Just curious also, as far as the technology and the further development, you have 27 different modules, HCM models right now, or human capital model, management modules. Are there any plans that you can discuss to talk about, even what's going to be ahead for the next 18 months?
There's absolutely continued investment in analytics. And what we've just released is actually an HR analytics bot called Ask Tozy. So you can ask Tozy, rather than clicking away on your keyboard or on your mobile phone, you can ask Tozy, what is the likelihood of Greg allowing me to take leave on Tuesday today, Tozy? And Tozy will look at your previous Greg as being my manager experience in accepting leave, and you'll find out that Tuesday is not a great day for him to accept people going on leave. So no, ask on Thursday. So helping humanizing that element of finding out what Greg's abilities to say yes or no to leave application is where we've absolutely started our first step into, and we'll continue on to that journey of our artificial intelligence with our bot Ask Tozy. But it is analytics and deep analytics of your client base, of your employees for our client base, and we'll continue to deeply invest in that. And Paygroup, obviously having a part of its business, 50% in Asia and 50% in Australia, we get that beautiful diversity of having a development centre in Melbourne, Australia, as well as in Chennai, India, to balance out what people naturally ask me is, how do you manage the ongoing costs of OPEX within your technology group?
Yeah, no, that's great. Right, exactly right. Because we can go in a few different directions here, and I want to cover things as quickly as possible. But like one of the, I guess, big, dilemmas that you always have to weigh up is what is truly CapEx versus maintenance CapEx? Because in a way, if you're not growing your business, you're falling behind, if you know what I'm saying.
Paygroup strategically locates all of its technology into Singapore, and the IP is owned by our 100% owned company there in Singapore. If it's new breaking ground technology, we are supported by the Singaporean government on cooperative development on that basis. So we spend $1. Once it's proved and deployed, they will give us a percentage of that dollar back. It's a magnificent environment for investment into software. So that's what we do for new breaking. But our run rate for ongoing, remembering that we've got a balance of service development centres, Melbourne and Chennai, India, is about $1.5 million a year. Relatively humble, but that's because Chennai affords us such great value.
Amazing. And, I guess, turning from technology to every business has to make money, and that's what you're a public company, and that's what you're there for, shareholder value. I think that one of the interesting things is you have a extremely diverse customer base, no customer really bigger than 5%. Your recurring revenue model, you basically have embedded contracts, if you will, multi-years. Can you just discuss how it's almost an annuity style business, and maybe for our investors that are landlords, you'd understand about collecting an annuity. This is a different type of annuity, if you will. Can you just discuss that, Mark, a little bit?
Greg, that's perfectly put. It is an annuity style business, and that's why I've been focused in this industry for over 25 years myself. And I have some of the world's leaders on my board. So Ian Basser, Chandler McLeod, CEO. Most people listening today would know who Chandler McLeod is. And also Franck Neuron-Bancel, one of the global executives of ADP, the Goliath, left ADP to join us about 3.5 years ago, and he ran $1.5 billion of ADP's $13 billion. 3-year contracts, all repetitive revenue, implemented in weeks or months, with a 95% retention rate over 12 years. So we're very structured on the style of organisation that we want to onboard, and we're very structured in our 3-year repetitive revenue contracts. And we trust and believe with more services, more modules that we sell to our customers, as they expand, we naturally expand.
Absolutely. And Mark, in a couple of minutes left, you just raised some capital. I think it was about $3 million. Obviously, you're going to use it to grow out your business more. What should investors from a news flow point of view be looking for over the next 6 to 12 months?
What we'll be looking for is what you've already seen on the market. So we have signed in the first 4 months of this year, because we're a March 31 balancer, 80% of what we've already done in the previous year. So our ARR announcements are very key to investors. Our total contract value of customers that we're onboarding is also a key driver. And then you can model those total contract value deals out to be one that says Paygroup's just layering these on top of its existing base. Right. And again, we're implementing in months and weeks. So we're very clear that it's all ARR and also TCV contracts.
Fantastic. Mark, thank you so much for your time. Do you have any kind of a closing word or two for the audience?
We're delighted to be listed on the Australian Stock Exchange. We think it's a prime position for investors to look at diversifying their portfolio with a repetitive revenue business that has such a great exposure to Asia from our Singaporean headquarters. So single source deals for our customers from Singapore combined with Australia makes it a compelling proposition to follow some of the biggest brands in the world as they expand, and we provide our unique solutions to them.
Fantastic. Mark Samlal, Paygroup, thank you very much for your time. Please stay in touch.
Thank you, Greg. I'd be delighted to. Appreciate the opportunity.